If you own a Seaspray, you may be interested in viewing some of the different improvements that we've made to this boat over the years. They may be within the scope of your ability to recreate on your own boat. Certainly trailers and dollies and your sailboat have to work well together for you to be able to get on the water a little bit more. Hope to see you on the water.
The nice thing about a Seaspray is that you can easily work on it. The whole deck joint is quite easy to split apart, and it allows for a quick lifting of the hull and the deck, separating the hull from the deck, so that this will lift up and it can be supported with a 2x2 or whatever to keep it up so that you can do your work inside.
This shows the rear deck area opened up and supported with the stick, and the foredeck area is opened up and supported with a stick.
The problem that some of the Seasprays have are that they have flotation foam that was placed inside, and this was placed at the bottom of the hull. And with a little bit of water leakage into the hulls over the years, this water saturates the foam, and it needs to be removed if you want a safer boat that's easy to right from a capsize.
Here we can see the problem. This foam was laid on the bottom of the hulls, right from the back of the boat to the front. This is a picture of some of the damage that can be caused by the freeze-thaw wintertime weather. If you're lucky, this is a block that can be removed quite easily by taking out the center deck area. And here's the ribs with slot cut in them to facilitate water drainage. Remember to wear proper safety equipment, including mask, eyeglass, safety glasses, and gloves.
Lifting the deck, you can start here with a hammer and a knife and split the deck apart all the way to about the mid part of the main doghouse, and this can be lifted and work can be done inside the hull. We can also facilitate drainage of any water between the ribs by creating a hole at the bottom of each rib, and this will allow the water to run from the bow of the boat all the way out to the transom and drain out the back end. You can also reach in from here back to the daggerboard trunk to remove extra foam as well. And the next section of deck that can be removed easily is this part here between my hands, and this can come off, and that will allow you to remove the foam probably up to here by reaching in. I used a putty knife and a chisel, and this can easily be redecked. There's lots of room for glassing back together. And we have some information on the website, the Canadian Seaspray website, if you're interested in doing that yourself. The same thing happens at the transom. We can separate the hull deck joint quite easily here. And we can split it up to about here, and again use a board to lift this part of the deck up like that. And what we find in older boats, a lot of the older boats have plywood that they use to reinforce the transom. And this becomes rotten over time and doesn't hold the gudgeon in place very well. So that can be replaced with aluminum plate.
When doing your fiberglassing, a proper table with some polyethylene placed over top makes a nice workstation for working with this material. I use a cloth, fiberglass cloth, and not the chop strand mat because you can't use that with epoxy resins. Polyester resin works. Polyester resin works, but it maybe smells quite a bit for working in the wintertime inside an enclosed area. Epoxy might be more beneficial. It sometimes has a more consistent setup time. You want to keep your temperatures within the requirements, and here I'm showing how the strips of fiberglass are laid on the hull lip, and this has to be wetted out. I typically wet them out on the polyethylene work table and then lay them in place. Before placing the wetted out glass on the hull lip, you have to wet out both surfaces, the underside of the deck where this mates and on the hull deck lip, and then lay your wetted glass onto the lip. I usually use a little bit of thickened epoxy resin to place over the glass, the wetted out glass strips. This improves the bonding and minimizes the chance of any voids. Here you can see the clothespin clamps and other clamps that I've used to redeck. This section of deck was removed between the dog houses, generally where you sit, and it was finished up with Bondo with short strand glass. This sets up in very short time, 5 minutes or less, and it can be sanded within a half an hour generally. This also is easy to recover and get a fairly smooth finish. Below this Bondo is a number of layers of glass, and this is overlaid over the area that was cut and sanded back to the glass. Like, you have to remove the gel coat before you start building up the layers of glass, and then covering with the final coat with the Bondo, sanding, and then maybe recoating. If you're using the Bondo, you should be using polyester resins underneath at the start of your repair. Typically I like to use epoxy, and I would use thickened epoxy with micro balloons or some other mixture, even sawdust, that would sand out fairly easily. You want a fairly smooth finish when you're done so that it can be painted and it's not obvious that you've done a repair here.
These are non-typical rudder heads. This was water jet cut at a local metal shop. These are 1/4-inch plate aluminum plates, and we use puckboard on the inside to reduce the friction. You can see that the shapes of that is the same. And this is a machinable nylon block that keeps the allows the rudder head to be attached to the gudgeon. And we have a stainless steel bolt here holding it. This is boat bimini tubing. This is easily available from your canvas store or your bimini shop that builds your sailboat and powerboat biminis. The nice thing about this tubing is the next size dimension fits almost perfectly in between the two. There's no slop when you put these in, and it's quite nice to work with. This is a 3/4-inch tube. We've got 1/8-inch thick puckboard, 1/4-inch thick steel aluminum plate, and the rudder blade is 1/2-inch thick. This has been reinforced with a little bit of carbon fiber, and I think the original wood is cedar. So this gives a pretty lightweight setup here.